Drawing and making stories can be one of the most difficult things ever. By blending the written word and symbolism, we must study the past in order to teach the future. Welcome to Farlook Studios. My name is Ray Raynette, and I'm a self-published illustrator and writer for my own comic book magazine titled Junket: Hidden Worlds Revealed. On this channel, we look back at different forms of art and see what it is we can take away from it in order to apply it to our day-to-day lives. As a practicing artist, I always look back to see what it is I could reference or find inspiration from and apply it into my modern-day work. If you guys like the content I make here, don't forget to hit a thumbs up, subscribe, and put notifications on to stay updated. Now, on to the video. Dante Alighieri, a towering figure of the Italian Renaissance, who single-handedly penned one of the most influential works of Italian and Western literature, the Divine Comedy. This epic poem, composed between 1308 and 1320, is a profound exploration of the human soul's journey through the afterlife, divided into three parts: Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And as most Western readers know it, it's hell, purgatory, and paradise. This poem takes the reader on a visionary journey throughout these mental landscapes, each one of the settings being written in a very precise and descriptive manner, painting a mental picture with these words unlike never before. Dante Alighieri was a renowned Italian poet, born in Florence in 1265. His life was deeply intertwined with the turbulent political climate of 14th century Italy. The city-states of Florence and its rival Pisa were engaged in constant power struggles, often leading to exile and displacement for those who fell out of favor with the ruling factions. Dante's own life was marked by such political turmoil. He was exiled from Florence in 1302, a consequence of his involvement in the city's political factions. This exile had a profound impact on his life and work. The entire home where he had grown up was gone. He would never be able to come back, ever. The feelings of homesickness and a love that never was got to Dante and made him very depressed. Within the story, he writes about a character named Beatrice, who was this beautiful angel. Beatrice was actually Dante's first and unrequited love. They met in Florence at a May Day party when he was 9 and she was 8. Dante allegedly only ever met her twice in his life, but she had made such an impression that he carried it throughout his life. Dante, banished and lonely, had nothing else to turn to except his brilliance and his literature, his imagination. He transfixed himself with writing this epic poem, describing what he was feeling through a mythological journey through hell and heaven. Within the story of the Divine Comedy, the character of Virgil was based on the real-life Roman poet Virgil, who once lived and died over 1,000 years before Dante. Virgil was a famous poet in ancient Rome, primarily known for his epic work, the Aeneid. His books were still prominent in medieval Italy, and Dante considered him a brilliant historical figure. In the poem, Virgil is Dante's guide and friend, leading him through hell and purgatory. Virgil represents human wisdom and reason, and Dante sees him as a master to be admired and trusted. The character of Virgil also represents the journey of self-development, as Dante struggles to face life suffering and improve himself. Dante intentionally chose Virgil as a key character to acknowledge and appreciate classical tradition, and to suggest that his own poem was as great as Virgil's. Dante's personal experiences, including his love for Beatrice, his political exile, and his deep religious faith, all contributed to the creation of the Divine Comedy. His work reflects the intellectual and spiritual essence of the Italian Renaissance, a period of great cultural and artistic innovation. By exploring the complexities of the human condition and the nature of the divine, Dante's masterpiece continues to inspire and challenge readers centuries after its creation. When I was much younger and when I first found out about this story, I instantaneously became obsessed, and I was wondering how come there was never an epic adaptation of this as a movie or as a show or something. And even though there are similar things to it that were inspired, such as Over the Garden Wall and other many short books, there was never anything that was a direct adaptation that leaned heavily on the subject matter. And I think that's primarily due to companies being scared of the ending. Most people only really know this story from the descriptions of hell. People have thought that, honestly, Dante only ever wrote Inferno, but he also wrote Purgatory and he wrote Paradise. Frankly, I think we need to analyze it in its entirety and not just simplify it to its beginning. Although hell is a much more creative and a much more daring and drastic and dramatic image, we have to remember that Dante's purpose for writing this was for us not to fixate on the negative and to aspire to be better and to pursue the divine. Nevertheless, let's begin where the book starts. Inferno, a descent into darkness. The Inferno is a harrowing descent into the 9 circles of hell, each one punishing a specific sin. Dante, guided by the Roman poet Virgil, they encounter a myriad of mythological and historical figures, each suffering an eternal punishment befitting their earthly transgressions. The journey through hell is a symbolic representation of the descent into the depths of the human soul, where sin and corruption reside. The dark, foreboding forest that Dante encounters at the beginning of his journey symbolizes the state of sin and despair. Virgil, a symbol of reason and classical wisdom, serves as Dante's guide, leading him through the infernal realms. The 3 beasts that block Dante's path, the leopard, the lion, and the she-wolf, represent the sins of lust, pride, and avarice, respectively. These sins, Dante suggests, are the primary obstacles to our spiritual salvation. After being saved by Virgil and getting rid of these beasts, the 2 of them are confronted with the doorway into hell. In the markings above the door, there is engraved a phrase, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," symbolizing the terrible hopelessness within the maws of hell. As they journey deeper, they notice that it is all a harrowing descent into these 9 circles of hell, each one more horrifying than the last, each one a specific punishment. After leaving the dark wood, a symbol of sin and despair, the first circle of hell, Limbo, is reserved for virtuous pagans who, despite their good deeds, were not baptized and therefore denied entry into paradise. This circle is a relatively mild punishment, as its inhabitants live in a state of perpetual longing. This interpretation and imagery is quoted directly from the Bible, such as in Matthew and in Luke. Extreme anguish and utter despair of man consigned to eternal punishment in hell. In that place, in the fiery furnace, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The next 7 circles of hell are divided into the upper and lower circles. The upper circles punish sins of incontinence, such as gluttony, lust, greed, and sloth. The lower circles are reserved for more serious sins, such as violence, fraud, and treachery. One of the most iconic images from the Inferno is the frozen lake of Cocytus, where you can see the bodies of suffering people frozen in this lake, still moving and wrestling as Dante and Virgil walk above them. Within the 9th and final circle of hell, here we see the worst sinners, who are eternally trapped in ice, their bodies twisted and contorted in agony. Among the most notorious of these sinners are the traitors, who encased in ice and eternally chewed upon by the mouth of Satan. We can see that this frozen wasteland is a different interpretation than what we're used to. We always imagine that it's all a furnace and all just flames and suffering. However, we see that the deeper we go, the colder and the more empty it gets. Because God, right, the Christ figure, is the light of the world. He is what gives us warmth and He is what guides us. And without Him, we are cold and suffering and alone. Instead of seeing the devil as this man who is throned and who is the ruler of hell, in fact, we instead see him as just another victim. He is encased in the ice just like everyone else, and he has 3 heads chewing on the 3 betrayers. We see Brutus and Cassius, who both betrayed Julius Caesar, and in the middle we see the devil eating the head of Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. As the heroes delve deeper, they find the river Styx, a murky and foul-smelling river which separates the first 5 circles from hell from the lower circles. It is guarded by the ferryman Charon, who transports the souls of the damned across the river. The river itself symbolizes the barrier between the world of the living and the underworld. Dante's vivid descriptions of hell, with its grotesque imagery and horrifying punishments, have captivated readers for centuries. We see people with their heads turned backwards, walking forwards. We see them buried in ice, wrestling each other, lifting stones up mountains, and cast into the wind forever to be blown away and suffering. These images have become iconic and synonymous with Dante, and the Inferno is a powerful reminder of the consequences of sin and the importance of moral virtue. Virgil and Dante escape hell by climbing down the legs of Satan, and we see that this actually turns them around, and they escape, the next day ascending from hell to see the stars, suggesting that everyone in hell is pointed downwards. After finally escaping the clutches of hell, Dante and Virgil ascend Mount Purgatory, a mountain that symbolizes the path to purification. Here, souls are purged of their sins through a series of trials, each corresponding to a specific vice. The journey through purgatory is a process of spiritual growth and transformation. The souls strive to attain the grace of God. Dante encounters various historical and literary figures in purgatory, including poets, philosophers, and religious figures. These encounters provide opportunities for theological and philosophical discussions, exploring the nature of sin, redemption, and divine justice. The presence of these figures also highlights the enduring power of human thought and creativity. For Dante, purgatory is not only a place where you pay the debts you incurred when you sinned, it is in fact the place where you reflect on those sins and where you change the psychological tendencies which led you to sin in the first place. The mountain has 7 terraces that spiral upwards, each corresponding to one of the 7 deadly sins. Here we see that the souls in purgatory suffer in order to become good. The forms of suffering vary by each level. For example, the envious have their eyes sewn up, and the proud are weighed down by stones. Souls in purgatory sing hymns and psalms, they pray, and are surrounded by angels. At the top of the mountain is the Garden of Eden, where souls are taken to heaven. Purgatory is a cleansing process that rids the soul of impurities and earthly attachments. The Catholic Church teaches that purgatory is a condition of existence, not exactly a place. But in Dante's setting, he describes it in the most elegant of manners, describing what the journey feels like in a descriptive form. The image of climbing an impossible mountain where we carry the very things that burdened us, the very things that brought us down, and we have to learn to let these things go in order to continue to ascend. Here we see a new adaptation of the Greek mythological story of Sisyphus, who was punished by the gods to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to have it roll back down before he could reach the top. This futile task symbolizes the absurdity of human existence and is often used to describe a task that is impossible. This image is now taken and adapted with the perspective of Catholicism and Christianity. Here we see, instead of it being the gods playing with mortal man, the gods are giving us an opportunity to become better by letting go of that holds us back. Through the story of Christ, who carried the sufferings of man in order to save us from our sins, here we see all of these souls constantly trying to be their very best, attempting to live and act as Christ once did. Though we are all sinners, and though we will always fall short of Christ's image, it is always better for us to prepare the way, align ourselves, and give ourselves to Christ in order to fully be saved from our sins. The gatekeeper in purgatory writes the letter P 7 times on Dante's forehead with his sword. The P stands for peccatum, which means sin. The gatekeeper then opens it for them, and they continue to enter. Dante's journey through purgatory is a symbolic representation of the soul's cleansing of sins and ascent to heaven. The pain of the climb is purposeful, and the soul becomes lighter as it's purged of sin. When the soul is fully cleansed, it is free of sinful desires and chooses to leave purgatory. They then enter the Garden of Eden, where they finally meet Beatrice. There is a Christian phrase that I am certain Dante may have heard while writing this, and it means to bear your cross, to carry that which hurts you, which is painful, which weighs you down, which is heavy, in order to control it and be free of its chains. Dante steps through the garden, and he describes it as the paradise that overlapped between the earth and the heaven, like the bridge that connects the mortal world with that is holy. Beatrice appears to Dante in the Garden of Eden and leads him to a beautiful vision. Beatrice represents a powerful character who symbolizes the love of God and the human soul. Dante fell in love with Beatrice in real life, and in his heart he remained in love throughout his whole life, and Beatrice, the character, is a mirror that reflects the divine love and serves as a bridge to salvation, further emphasizing the purgatory story. Instead of finding a snow top or anything on top of the mountain, we find the earthly paradise, the Garden of Eden, filled with gorgeous flowers and teeming with life and love, symbolizing the state of innocence and purity before the fall of man. It is a place of peace and tranquility, where souls are cleansed fully of their earthly sins and are prepared for the ascent to paradise. The Garden of Eden is a powerful metaphor for the human soul and its yearning for spiritual perfection. Now, surprisingly, in the least spoken of book, the finality, in paradise, in the final part of the Divine Comedy, we see a mystical ascent through the celestial spheres, culminating in a vision of the divine. Dante, guided by the angelic Beatrice, ascends through the 9 heavens, encountering various celestial beings and gaining a deeper understanding of the divine order. The presence of Beatrice, a symbol of love and grace, is crucial to Dante's spiritual journey. The ultimate destination of Dante's journey is the Empyrean, the highest heaven, where he beholds the divine light. This vision of God represents the ultimate goal of human existence, union with the divine. After Virgil guides Dante through the entirety of hell, Virgil returns to the first circle of hell, known as Limbo, where he resides eternally as a virtuous pagan who could not enter heaven due to his lack of Christian baptism. Essentially, he returns to the place where he was already situated before guiding Dante. Interestingly, Virgil is surrounded by other poets, such as Homer and many more, great writers and thinkers of their own respective fields, who actually, in the story, hold Dante up to their own standards, and he calls them one of their own. Dante loves this, but he realizes he cannot remain amongst them. He has to move beyond and learn and grow in order to transcend and right the errors of the past. As Dante continues to ascend in paradise, his journey begins on the moon, the lowest sphere of heaven, where souls who made vows but failed to keep them are punished. From there, Dante and Beatrice ascend to the other celestial spheres, each associated with a specific planet and heavenly body. In each sphere, they encounter different celestial beings, including saints, martyrs, and philosophers, who impart wisdom and knowledge. One of the most striking images in Paradiso is the griffin, a creature that symbolizes the union of divine and human nature. This creature, half lion and half eagle, represents Christ, who is both human and divine. The griffin guides Dante and Beatrice through the celestial spheres, symbolizing the divine guidance that leads humanity to salvation. The climax of Dante's journey occurs in the Empyrean, the highest heaven, where he is granted a vision of the divine. In this ultimate revelation, Dante beholds the nature of God, the source of all creation. This vision is a profound, mystical experience, transcending human understanding and language. The Paradiso is a celebration of divine love and ultimate goal of human existence. Dante's journey through the celestial spheres is a metaphor for the soul's ascent towards God. The poem's complex symbolism, intricate rhyme scheme, and sublime beauty have made it one of the best works of literature worldwide. Within the divine vision that God shows him, he explains to Dante the intricate workings of the cosmos, revealing the interconnectedness of all things. He illuminates the divine plan, showing every single event, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is part of a larger cosmic order. Everything happens for a reason. We just have to trust him. One of the most significant moments in Paradiso occurs when Dante directly addresses the reader, breaking the fourth wall and inviting them to participate in this mystical experience. This happens as Dante is about to receive the ultimate revelation, the vision of God. Dante turns to the reader and says, "Reader, now attend with all your mind, for what I write was hard to understand, even for me." This directly addresses to the reader and underscores the transformative power of the divine and its limitations of human language to express such a profound experience. By breaking the fourth wall, Dante invites the reader to become a co-creator of what the experience symbolizes and what it means to you, not solely as a passive observer, but as an active participant in the journey to the divine. In one of the most famous lines from Paradiso, it states, "Fate's arrow, when expected, travels slow. Open your mind to what I shall disclose, and hold it fast within you. He who hears, but does not hold what he has heard, learns nothing. All things created have an order in themselves, and this begets the form that lets the universe resemble God." And with this final chapter, we then close the ending to the trilogy. Dante paints an overarching blueprint and a roadmap for people's lives. We are given this understanding that the world will not always be sunshine and rainbows, and for the most part we will have to go through the thick of it in order to genuinely come out the other side better off. Whenever life throws terrible things our way, throughout all of the storms, we have to be like Noah. We have to be prepared. We have to do what we know we should do, and we should always strive to carry our burdens, to bear our cross, and to climb the mountain up and meet God himself. The Divine Comedy reassures us that the path to paradise begins in hell, one of my absolute most famous lines from this book, and it perfectly encapsulates the entirety of the poem. Since we are made in the image of God, we should never forget that he is with us. The Bible constantly tells us, "Fear not, for I am with you." Constantly repeated throughout the entire book, we are reminded that God is with us and is a part of us. And just as the Creator made us in his image, we too are called to create ourselves and walk towards that image, striving to fulfill our purpose and our potential. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys can comment down below what story you would like for me to talk about next. Please go check out my self-published comic book, Junket: Hidden Worlds Revealed, where I tie in mythological and theological themes into a nice, all-ages, friendly adventure story. Please subscribe, put notifications on to stay updated, and remember, God loves you, and stay motivated. Peace out. I'll see you guys on the next one.